Hello, friends. In the midst of everything that is shifting and changing around us right now, in the midst of our current coronavirus crisis, I wanted to remind us of a few things that haven't changed and never will change. A few days ago, I was reminded of a chapter in this book and pulled it off my bookshelf to read it again. I found it incredibly encouraging, and I think you will too. The book is A Long Obedience in the Same Direction. It's rather a famous title. You've probably heard it before, by Eugene Peterson. And this chapter is a meditation on Psalm 121, which is a very familiar psalm. It is the psalm that begins, I lift my eyes to the mountains. Where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. And the psalm goes on to remind us, He will not allow your foot to slip. He who watches over you will not slumber. He will keep you from all harm. And what Eugene is unpacking for us in this chapter is, what does it look like as disciples of Christ to live in this reality of the truth that God will protect us from all harm, even in the midst of circumstances where we seem to be in danger or we're encountering real trouble? And since Eugene is way better at words than I am just going to read a portion of this chapter to you. He says, the Christian life is not a quiet escape to a garden where we can walk and talk uninterruptedly with our Lord, not a fantasy trip to a heavenly city where we can compare our blue ribbons and gold medals with those of others who have made it to the winner's circle. To suppose that, or to expect that, is to turn the nut the wrong way. The Christian life is going to God. In going to God, Christians travel the same ground that everyone else walks, breathe the same air, drink the same water, shop in the same stores, read the same newspapers, are citizens under the same governments, pay the same prices for groceries and gasoline, fear the same dangers, are subject to the same pressures, get the same distresses, are buried in the same ground. The difference is that each step we walk, each breath we breathe, we know we are preserved by God. We know we are accompanied by God. We know we are ruled by God. And therefore, no matter what doubts we endure or what accidents we experience, the Lord will guard us from every evil. He guards our very life. We Christians believe that life is created and shaped by God, and that the life of faith is a daily exploration of the constant and countless ways in which God's grace and love are experienced. Once we get this psalm into our hearts, it will be impossible for us to gloomily suppose that being a Christian is an unending battle against ominous forces that at any moment may break through and overpower us. Faith is not a precarious affair of chance escape from satanic assaults. It is the solid, massive, secure experience of God who keeps all evil from getting inside us, who guards our lives, who guards us when we leave and when we return, who guards us now, who guards us always. One of my favorite lines from this chapter is a few pages earlier. All the water in the oceans cannot sink a ship unless it gets inside, nor can all the trouble in the world harm us unless it gets within us. So the reality is that those of us who follow Christ, we are walking through the same world that everyone else is walking through right now. We're facing the same fears about our health and those of our family. We're facing the same financial uncertainties. We're facing the same inconveniences, but we walk through this world in a completely different way. And it's because we know the source of life. You know, the greatest fear right now for everyone is concerned with loss of life, and that is a concern that we as followers of Christ, just simply don't have, because that is the one thing we can't lose. We can't lose our life. We know where life comes from. God is life. As long as we have Him, we have life. We have everything. We have everything that's good. He is our only good. So we know that He's not going to be taken away from us. That would be the greatest thing that could ever bring us harm. That's never going to happen. God is present with us. He is watching over us. He's shielding us, sheltering us, protecting us, and there is absolutely no calamity that the world can throw at us that is ever going to change that. And so that leaves us free to walk through times of uncertainty, following Christ, walking in His ways, living life the way He taught us to live it. And one of the things that He told us to do was not to worry about our lives, about what we would eat or drink, about our body, about what we would wear, because life is more than food and clothes. And in the midst of the circumstances that we're in right now, that's pretty radical trust to walk through life with that perspective, that life is so much more than what could ever happen to my body. You know, my life is wrapped up in God and His goodness and His character. Let's exercise radical trust right now and seek first God's kingdom and His righteousness. We know that if we do these things, that all these other things will be added to us as well. So what does it look like for us to seek God's kingdom first right now? That can look like all sorts of things, but we know that all of those things will fall within the boundaries of loving God and loving others. It means doing justice, loving mercy, walking humbly, laying our lives down for our neighbor. And for those of us at Hope Life Center right now, that means we're going to keep our doors open as long as humanly possible. Our mission also, in addition to God's character, has not changed. We still exist to erase abortion from Illinois, one woman and one child at a time. And women in our community that are facing unplanned pregnancies right now, they're more vulnerable than ever. Those fears and uncertainties that lead them to consider abortion are only magnified right now. And so we need to be present in the community, providing a safe place for them to go where they can find the freedom to choose life. So we're still saving lives every day. We're just doing it now with thermometers and masks and lots of antiviral disinfectant. And we are walking through these circumstances encouraged by the goodness of God. But that's not the only thing we're encouraged by. We're also encouraged by you. In the midst of the chaos in the world right now, we are so incredibly thankful for you, our ministry partners, because it's because of you that our doors are able to be open today. Because of you, our helpline is still being answered. Women are walking through our doors. We're having significant conversations with them. We're continuing to provide ultrasounds, and we're continuing to see changed minds. And all of this is due to your prayers and your faithfulness and generosity. So thank you so much for partnering with us right now. I want to leave you with the last few verses of Psalm 121. The Lord will keep you from all harm. He will watch over your life. The Lord will watch over your coming and going, both now and forevermore.